in the car outside of his house the day of the Christmas party, pretty much just giving myself a little pep talk. Eventually I go up, I knock on the door, his dad answers, gives me a big hug, and tells me that he's downstairs with all of his cousins playing the video game. So I go downstairs, and as soon as I get down the stairs, all of his cousins look at me, and they give me the look of like, oh shit, she is not supposed to be here right now. And then I see the bathroom door closed with the light on. So I walk over, open the door, and what do I see? A girl from our school giving my boyfriend head. Well, my ex-boyfriend, but still, he was my boyfriend. So I didn't even give her time to get up before I started wailing on her. A few punches and kicks later, my boyfriend starts screaming in pain. After that, I got kicked out of the house, and I had to pay some medical bills because she bit my boyfriend. And
campaign came out, there were billboards of me everywhere in the city. My face was plastered on the internet and on social media too. Now from this, my Instagram grew a lot. Overnight, I went from having 6,000 followers to 40,000 followers. So by the end of the week, I had almost 100,000 followers. Again, this was a huge deal for me and I was really happy about it. But things started getting really weird when I started checking my DMs. I had about 40 DMs from one guy alone. The rest of the DMs were thirst traps, but this guy was different. He was becoming obsessive literally overnight. Every other message was about how beautiful I was and how he wanted to marry me. Instead of replying, I decided to ignore his messages. From this campaign, I started getting even more modeling jobs. And I also started getting paid to post stuff on Instagram. I was super happy. When I checked my DMs again, I noticed that he was messaging me even more. Once again, I ignored every single one of his messages. But after 4 days, he started getting really angry. Started commenting bitch on all of my pictures. Got to the point where I had to tell my modeling agency and they just told me to ignore him too. A few days later, I opened his DMs only to see a picture of my house. Part 2.
She had to abort the baby she definitely loved and looked forward to, and did that knowing that it will probably end her marriage as well. I was ready to go at that time. I had accepted my fate and I was at peace. She should have just let me. My brother-in-law should have told me so I would have talked her out of it. I'm surprised he didn't, and I can't feel anything but hate for myself. I don't know what to do. Should I talk to my sister? What should I tell her? Should I keep my mouth shut and pretend that I don't know? I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to look into her eyes and not show that I know. I just don't know what to do. Please help me.
Story time about the girl who faked assault for attention. So a little background information, I was 15 and it was my sophomore year of high school. So we're gonna call this girl Carly. Well, every week this girl would come in with some sort of bruise.
I told her dad, and my dad immediately called the police. But after the police visited, they told my dad that there wasn't anyone in there. No baby, no girl, just a man living across the street. Said maybe we were seeing things or reading things wrong. It gets really bad after this. Come back for part 4. Part 4 about the girl that lived across the street. I think maybe a month after the incident, I stopped seeing the girl and I stopped hearing the baby. And I kind of stopped thinking about them for a while. I thought maybe her and her little sneaky link and invite her an hour later. In the process of us doing this, I didn't expect anything to happen, but it did. And I don't know if he expected anything to happen that night, but he practically ended up cheating on Coco with me. Later that night, when she finally arrived, Nick told her she actually needed to go home and that he was busy doing something, even though he invited her to come over. She felt something was off, so she ran upstairs to his bedroom, which was where I was. When she saw me, she yanked me by my hair and pulled me out of the bed. And the rest was history. I ended up finding out 2 weeks later after that incident, the only reason why she was talking to my crush was to get him with me. This story time is from a follower, and she really needs advice. By the way, we're calling her Kalani. Kalani is 17 years old, and she just got out of a 2-year relationship. About 2 months later, after the relationship ended, she thought she was ready to get back out there. Her friends convinced her to get on a dating app, and they made a profile for her.
That night, he wakes up again to the sound of kids on his property, and when he looks outside, there's no kids, but that red ball is back on his property. Panicked, he runs downstairs to make sure the one he brought in is still inside, and it's gone. He checked every window and door, and everything was still locked. It didn't make any sense. He decides to look out the window one more time, and off in the distance is some weird, stiff figure watching him.
This is why you should never Google yourself.
Some of us might have done it once or twice, but
completely, and all the leads went cold. However, the Bradley family never gave up and were hopeful, but multiple people in the Caribbean claimed to have seen their daughter over the years. Just 5 months after her disappearance, 2 Canadian tourists spotted a woman who matched Amy's description on the beach with the exact same tattoos as Amy. These tattoos were pretty specific, such as a Tasmanian devil with a basketball on her shoulder, a sun on her lower back, a lizard on her stomach, and a Chinese symbol on her left ankle. She was accompanied by 2 men, and she tried to say something, but the man gestured her away. One of the tourists believes 100% that it was her. The following following year, a woman comes forward stating that she's Amy Lynn Bradley at a brothel in Curacao. Crime Fanatic Friday Part 2, the girl who disappeared from a cruise ship. 1 year after Amy Lynn Bradley's disappearance in 1999,
When we got back to class, the bruise had a completely different shape, and she changed her story to me beating the shit out of her in the bathroom because she slept with my non-existent boyfriend. 3 years later, she is still doing the same exact shit.
Story time about the girl next door. So around the time I lived in New York with my sister and dad, across the street there was a girl. I never knew her name, but she was really pretty. I had to be 11 and her herself maybe 15, 16. I was always playing outside, and ever so often she came out to take a baby for a stroll.
Maybe this could be a fake page. Then she digged more into his profile and seen pictures that she's never seen before. She doesn't know if she should confront her dad or tell her mom. Give her some advice down below. Or please. This story time is from a follower, and he really needs advice. So we're gonna go ahead and call him Junior, and Junior is 21 years old. Junior has a medical condition which keeps him from working a regular job. His family supports him. They pay for his rent, they pay for his travels, and they pay for his education. And Junior is gay. He said he's known since he was 12. He said that he has a boyfriend and they've been together for 3 years.
Long distance thing. Until a week later, he calls me, and apparently he got some soccer scholarship. So now he's going to Berkeley. So I was like, okay, maybe we can make long distance work. Well, then he tells me that he doesn't want to make it work and he thinks that we should just break up. Well, a week after that, him and I were sleeping together again. So I thought that meant that we were back together. But one day I was leaving his house and I heard his mom talking about me. And she was like, oh, is she coming to the Christmas party? And I was super, super happy until Devin says, oh, we're not together anymore and I'm thinking of inviting a different girl. Well, a week later, the party rolls around and I decide that I'm going to show up anyways. Like for part 2. Part 2 about my unhealthy obsession with my ex-boyfriend. So like I said, he thought that he was bringing some random girl to his Christmas party, and I decided that I was going to show up there anyways. So I'm sick.
I didn't know as it was early and she was only 2 months. My situation was getting worse and my sister decided to have an abortion, and then 2 months later we did the transplant surgery. Oh my god, what a nice sister. I never knew about the pregnancy. All I knew was that she gave me half of the liver. My sister and her husband divorced a year later. I didn't know the truth until yesterday when my mom slipped up about the abortion.
Which, by the way, we're gonna call Drake. Drake has never met Junior's parents, and now he's getting a bit anxious, and he said that he's tired of being kept a secret. Drake has been getting distant, and he doesn't know how long he can stay in a relationship while being hidden. Steven said the only reason why he hides Drake is because his family is very homophobic, and he's afraid that his family might cut him off. He's afraid that he might become homeless, and he doesn't want anyone else trying to take care of him. But he's afraid keeping him a secret might make him lose Drake. Please comment down below, or please make us. This story time is from a follower, and she seriously needs help. We're going to call her Aliana, and she's between the ages of 19 to 24 years old. So, Aliana has a daughter, and the child